Hello, everyone. It's been a while, hasn't it? Apologies for it's been 2 whole months since the last time we did a live here on the channel. I did mean to do one in June, but sadly I was ill, then I was away, and then we had all the sport. So we're here though now. I'm here for 30 minutes till 7:30 to answer as many questions as I can. If you've been before, you know how it works. If you're new, welcome. Lovely to have you along. Basically, a few simple things I share at the start just to make things a little bit easier. If you're asking a question, please prioritize just one question because we never manage to get through everything. If we get nearer the end and there's no more questions, then feel free absolutely to ask a second question. But please just pick your number one question you want to ask me. And also, really important, please just read over it before you press enter because sometimes there's a typo or something's not quite clear. And I'm not always able to answer it. So please do just do that. And I will also mention quite often during this that there is more information over on the site becleverwithyourcash.com. So that is, just remember that, head over there. You can sign up to our newsletter, get updates every single week, or you can just browse for stuff, search for stuff. So that will hopefully, if I don't get to your answer, your question, that might be a good option for you. Let's kick it off, shall we? And we already have a number from Lawrence on there. He said, Sally, I'm at work, so won't be able to join, but I've just completed the bank switch and it's occurring on the 18th. Just quickly had to subscribe to Radio Times and The Guardian for direct debit. If you knew this would work, I have some past. Okay, it's a bit complicated there, Lawrence. Sorry. There seems to be lots of different messages. That's what I was saying about if you can just do it in one thing would be help. But I think what he's saying there is actually, I've noticed this on our Facebook group, a few people talk about this, and it did happen last time with the Barclays bank switch, is unlike other switching deals where you seem to be able to say, I want the switch to happen on this date. This one seems to just do it in 7 days, which seems a bit strange. Obviously, I can't do it because I guess I could just switch a random old account to Barclays to test it. But broadly speaking, that seems to be the case. So please do share if you've seen that as well. And that is frustrating. But don't forget, there is an article and a video taking through some cheap and quick direct debits that you can set up that work really fast, which will come through in time. I like to go for Plum and Moneybox and PayPal as some options there because you can set them up really quickly, unlike more traditional bills, which might take a whole month to come through. Or there are some websites where you can pay for this. And if you are really panicked about it, again, in the article in the video, I've listed some of those you can go for. 50p or a quid, something like that. And the money will go out and it'll be there for the switch. But where this is a good reminder, I did mention this the other day on the pod, is that this is a good reason to maybe have a couple of dummy direct debits just sitting on your dummy current account if you've got one of those. If not, set one up, transfer money just to yourself to a separate savings account. So you're not losing out, you're not spending any money. They do it their own thing, you don't have to worry about it. But it means that when a switched offer comes along, if it is a one that ends pretty soon, or like this Barclays one seems to say you can only do it within 7 days, then you're good to go and you don't have to worry about it. But again, more content on that. Look for how to bank switch like a pro and look for fast direct debits over on the website or on the YouTube channel, and they will take you through those options. Cher has said, is Trading 212's 5.2% cash ISA offering the best rate for flexibility, easy access savings, presuming I will not max out my ISA and hence will not be sacrificing my ISA limit? Yeah, pretty much. 5.2 on Trading 212 can be matched by a couple of places, but there are limitations or restrictions. So, for example, the Kahoot Sunny Day Saver pays 5.2%, but you are limited to just £3,000 in there. And the Ulster Bank 5.2% saver, I think it has a minimum of £5,000, I think. But that one, you have to have a current account to get, and to open up an Ulster current account, it is not as easy as it is with all the others, particularly if you don't live in Northern Ireland. It's possible, but it's just not so slick and so fast. So if you want to ignore those, a bit more money, the Train 2121 is a decent option to consider. Marginally higher than Plum's 5.17, marginally higher again than Chase's 5.1%, which incidentally, in case I've just in the Facebook group I've just shared, I spotted it about half an hour ago on the Chase website. Incidentally, the last chance to add that 1% bonus to that Chase saver is Wednesday at midnight, 11:59 p.m. So if you haven't done that yet and you want to do that, it increases your rate from 4.1% to 5.1%. Then you've only got a couple of days to do it. Just remember that rate is only until the middle of January 2025, and the underlying rate is tracking the base rate of the Bank of England sets, so it will likely fall before January and then will fall after. But yeah, if you just want the highest rate right now, it is variable, but Train 212 is a good one. There will, I'm sure, be a number of questions about savings, and I know some of you get bored of me saying it, but if I keep saying it, it will stick in your mind. becleverwithyourcash.com/savings is where myself and the team, twice a day, we're updating the best buy tables easy access, fixes, ISAs, notice, regular savers, all that kind of thing. So you're always able to find the highest paying account options in there whenever you want to find out what they are. Nana Plaza says, if one converts 10K in TBH type art in the Wise app and after a month converts it back, it's GB pounds 11K. Will 11K be treated as a transfer to me for tax purposes, or just 1K profit will attract any tax or none attract tax? Oh, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, how interest is treated from foreign currency. Maybe someone might have to reply in the comments there and get a bit more information. Krishnan Nanada says, hey Krishnan Nanada. Jonathan says, what's the best reward credit card currently? Depends what you mean by best. There's highest paying, and there's most flexible, and there's most kind of immediate. I'm sure there's a better verb I could use for that anyway. But in terms of the one that pays the most money, like in as a particular rate, in terms of a credit card, then that is on the whole, the Nectar Amex credit cards. You get 2 Nectar points for every pound that you spend. You get them straight away. There's no waiting for them. And that works out at 1% effectively. The American Express cashback card does give 1.25% but you have to have spent £10,000 in the year before you get the rate. Before that is 0.75. So as a whole, as it averages out, unless you're a really, really, really high spender, you might probably get less than 1%, I would imagine, if not more. So that's the highest flat rate. There are a couple of places which give you a little bit more for specific retailers. So for example, the John Lewis one will give you 1.25% of John Lewis and Asda, but other than that, it's much lower. It's not one to go for. So that's in terms of the highest rate. In terms of flexibility, I always prefer to get money rather than points, because you can spend that on anything you want. And in that case, we're going back to that American Express Platinum cashback, 0.75%. For most, you're spending the 1.25 above 10K, but you can spend that however you want. Okay, and that's the highest paying one from memory. I have got an up-to-date article on the site which goes through all of these as well, just in case I have forgotten any. But then also the problem with that one, when it comes to that side sense of like how soon you get it, you don't get that for 12 months, the money on the Platinum the cashback credit card. They dropped the word platinum from it. It's just called the American Express cashback card now. You've got to wait a year to get it. In fact, more than a year and a couple of weeks. So that's a bit of a pain as well. But I think broadly speaking, if you're happy to collect Nectar points and spend them effectively in Sainsbury's, it's one of the only few options which is pretty decent there. On food shopping, that's probably your best bet. It does have a £30 annual fee, but in the first year it doesn't. And also if you go via a cashback site, you'll get an equivalent amount as well as a free extra. So effectively, you won't pay for it for 2 years. After 2 years, then it is slightly different. But yeah, I hope that was helpful. Crypto FPL says, NSI premium bond, is this the right savings for me? Well, that last bit is a really important bit there. Is it for you? I don't know. And I can never, whenever I talk about anything, it's really important to say, I can give you the broad kind of how things work, but there's never a one size fit all. There's very rarely going to be anything that's going to be right for everyone. Everyone has to look at their different situations. Now, premium bonds, I have covered them a huge amount. And I would recommend you watch a video that I did not too long ago, which was comparing 3 different people who had the full £50,000 saved in premium bonds for 12 months. And why I recommend that one, there's plenty of other articles and videos that I've done on this you can look at as well. But I like that one because it really shows you the range of results. There is no guarantee. You could do really well, you could do bang average, you could do quite poorly. So do check that one out. It has more information. But broadly speaking, and it isn't that video, but I'll give you a heads up now. Broadly speaking, premium bonds are good for people who need access to a lot of cash and have used up their tax-free ISA allowance and tax-free personal savings allowance, because premium bond prices are tax-free. So they've used them up, or potentially they're a higher rate taxpayer, so an additional rate taxpayer even, where they don't get the PSA and they pay 45% tax and everything. Then they start to look a little bit more interesting. But remember, most of us don't need to have a lot of money in cash. Appreciate if you're in retirement, you might want to move money into cash, or you're saving for something, you might need a lot of cash, but most of us don't need huge amounts. So for most people, it's probably not the answer, but it could be for you. So yeah, watch that stuff and hopefully you'll get that information. Don't want to forget everyone on Instagram. It's just a bit harder for me to read the questions, but let me wheel back here and see what questions we've got over here. Lewis says, how can I get cash back abroad apart from Chase Bank? Chase Bank is the best card for spending overseas. It's fee-free, and you can get that 1% cash back on your spending home and abroad, as long as you meet the criteria to do that, which is to transfer £1,500 into your Chase account in the previous month. That is hands down the best one for spending, okay? However, there aren't that many other ones that offer cashback, and none of them anywhere near that rate. The one that I have that I like to use is a credit card from Barclays called the Barclays Card Rewards Card. Much, much lower rate, 0.25%. But I use my credit card a lot less because I'm using Chase. Or actually, last time I went away, I used my Hyperjar card because it was a higher rate of cashback. But that's by the by. That offer's finished now. But what's great about having a credit card as well is there will be times where you need a credit card overseas. Maybe you're getting a car hire and they need to freeze a little bit around it. Maybe you do incidentals at the hotel in case you raid the minibar. Then at least you're earning a little bit from that. Now, in my credit card update article and video that I published, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, I did talk about a new card from NatWest, which gives 1% on travel products. So hotels, flights, things like that, home and abroad. So it's 1% again, but it doesn't give you, and it's fee-free to use, but you won't get it on your normal spending. So broadly speaking, you can use any cashback for most of that stuff because most of the time you're going to be buying that when you're back in the UK and you'll be buying that in pounds rather than other currencies. But it is something to consider that might be useful for you. Bohemia says how to arrange direct debits for the switch offer. Again, covered that already. Do check out my articles about and video about quick direct debits. For bank switching and cheap and fast ones. Can be cleveryourcash.com has that. Welshie says, your YouTube videos took me out of years of debt, taught me about credit and made my life a million times better. Thank you. Oh, that's so good to hear, Welshie. I'm so happy that I was able to help you there, myself and the team, producing content which has made a difference for you. It's really, really good to hear. Yeah, congratulations. Right, let's go back to YouTube. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. Thaxton says, I've just had an email from Santander saying that the 7% account, this is the Edge Saver, is going down to 4.41%. Now, that is really big. I'm not surprised if they're anticipating rates, everything is cut, but that makes a big difference to us, sure, where a lot of you have got your money. If you're regular viewers and you've gone down some of the hacks I've shared with this one, the potential to have not just one of these, but potentially 4 of them if you're in a couple across a number of accounts. If this is the case, and remember that 7% is just for 12 months. As well. So after 12 months, it drops anyway. If that 4.41% is before the 12-month, the drop, then it's going to be really low. But saying that, if you have had this account for a while and your 12 months is nearly up, it'll be time to move your money anyway. But I will absolutely look into that and I'll do more of an update for that. On Thursdays, for those of you who don't already know, we have a newsletter that comes out 7 a.m. to your inboxes. It is completely free. It doesn't charge you anything for that. And it is the best of everything that we've covered in the week. All our articles, videos, podcasts, all the deals that myself and the team find as well. And absolutely, that is somewhere where if this is the case, it's definitely going to be something I'll write up in more detail. So do sign up if you haven't, be cleverwithyourcash.com/newsletter, and you can sign up. We also have a nice little welcome offer for people as well, which is, it's £20 if you open for the first time you use Quidco. If you never used Quidco before, you get a £20 bonus. Although, if I can say, it's going up in a couple of days. So maybe, I do want you to sign up for the newsletter, but maybe wait a couple of days. Maybe wait till Wednesday. Okay? Can't say any more. But anyway. Neon says, what is the best bank account, debit card, credit card set up for people who don't really care about interest or savings at all and only want benefits on spending and good overdrafts? Okay, so they're obviously very different things there. You know, your bank account and debit card's connected to your bank account. Obviously, your credit card is separate. And obviously interest and savings wouldn't be linked to a credit card necessarily, but they would to the bank account and a debit card. So I've covered obviously all the different accounts over on the site. If you just want benefits on your spending, then you are looking at cashback, which we've spoken about already. And there's really not too much difference. We've got a whole article, the best cashback credit and debit cards on the site. So do look at that. But I'll go with Chase as the best one for your everyday spending. In terms of overdrafts, though, again, that's a different kettle of fish completely. The Nationwide Flex Direct is the best one for overdrafts. If you have a sizable overdraft that you're struggling with, you're not able to make a dent on it, and it's charging you hefty amount of interest, around 40%, which most banks are charging around 40%, all of them, most of them, which is higher than any credit card, higher than most loans. It's a lot of money. You can open up a Flex Direct account and you will get a 0% overdraft for a year. Now, the size of it will vary. There is an ability when you go to their website to essentially do a soft check to get an idea of how large that will be. But that's a great way of getting that moving. You don't even have to switch over to get it. You have your old account, whatever it is, with the overdraft, move that money effectively from the Nationwide account into the old account, wipes out that overdraft, right? And now that Nationwide account is overdrawn up to your limit, but it's not charging you anything. And that means when you pay it off, you do what you can, spend less, find ways to save money, maybe ways to make money. You're putting money into that overdraft. You're getting rid of it before that 0% period ends, and only for 12 months. So that is the best one to go for. You can only get this once in your life, though. So that's the thing. If you think you might need it another time, you've got a small overdraft, I wouldn't go for it. This is more about sizable ones. First Direct is the next best one, and it is a big jump down. You're looking at a buffer of 0% of 250 quid, which might be handy if you occasionally go overdrawn. And there's also that £175 bank switching deal that they're running right now, plus the 7% regular saver. And don't forget, if you go via Quidco or Top Cashback, the rates change, so check them both. You'll get another between 25 and 45 quid on top of that. So it's certainly one considering if you're only overdrawn slightly. Again, I have got an article on the site with the best accounts of overdraft, so that's definitely worth taking a look at that. Robert has said, Santander Easy Saver used to be 5.2%. Where will the interest go now that I've switched bank? So if you've closed down that Santander savings account completely, if that's gone, then the interest, you'll still get the interest because it's a savings account rather than a current account. So if you've saved it, closed the account down, then I don't know, actually. I don't actually know. Contact them. Presumably this you're talking about getting paid annually then rather than monthly. You'll definitely get the money. You won't lose out. They might just put it into a different account with them. Often they convert it into a different account. If you closed it down, though, they should have transferred the money as part of that. You might have to contact Santander. If you've still got the app, though, you've still got the account, just keep an eye on there and there'll be information in it. Adam says, I keep hearing of people having their account frozen or closed by Monzo. On their Facebook page, it seems to be almost daily. Is this common with other banks or should I be worried? So, yeah, there has been a thing, and I haven't heard about it for a long time, actually. Not so much in the last year or so, but prior to that, Monzo was the one which certainly had more issues with people just freezing their accounts out of nowhere. The digital banks actually were worse than some of the high street banks for this. But that was partly because their systems were effectively more sophisticated and therefore better able to find out when something dodgy was happening. Of course, often something dodgy wasn't happening. And a lot of people, I know what I mean by these Facebook groups where people are talking about this, and they've had their accounts frozen, their money in there, which they can't get to for whatever reason, at least for a short period of time. And that is obviously worrying. And it is certainly something to have at the back of your mind. If you bank normally, it shouldn't be an issue. I guess it's when weird things happening. And if you are gaming some of these rewards like we talk about often here on the channel, sending money in and out on a regular basis, it could look like you're laundering money, it could look like you're doing something a bit dodgy. So that is something to be careful of. But if you're something you are really, really worried about, and then it's maybe some reason to go with a different bank. But it's small numbers. It seems quite vocal, but it is small numbers of people. And it does happen with all banks. It could happen at any bank, even if I say the digital ones, it is slightly more on top of it. Let's check over. Samir says, NatWest also offer the same cashback abroad card as what Chase is offering. I think we touched on that. It is different. It doesn't work in quite the same way. And then what else we got here? Okay, there's just lots of people watching. It's absolutely fine just to watch. You don't have to ask a question. It's always nice just so you guys tuning in and picking stuff up. Celestial Alexia says, hi Andy, no questions today. Just wanted to thank you and the team for your help. I bought my first home at the start of the year and I have an emergency fund that I'm happy with. That is fantastic. Congratulations for that. Sebastian says, what is the best UK purchase credit card you would recommend for most people to use? So a purchase credit card, what Sebastian's talking about here is effectively a 0% purchase credit card where you spend money on the card and there's no interest charged for a set amount of time. Sometimes as little as a couple of months, sometimes it could be a year, more than that. In terms of what's the best one, well, there's a few factors here. One of them is how long do you need it to be 0% for? If you only need it to be 0% for a year, because remember the important thing is you do pay this off within that period, otherwise you're going to get charged interest, then cards that charge over 12 months is great. If you need longer, then you need to find one which does go for more. But if you don't need longer, then they're pointless. The second thing to think about here is which ones you're most likely to be accepted for. And this is true for any credit card. So when I was talking about those American Express cards earlier, talking about the Barclays card rewards, NatWest ones, any card for any reason, don't just apply for a card from the website. Always do a soft search before an eligibility search. And I personally think the best place to do that is a comparison site. They won't be whole of market. So if you do find there's a particular card that you're interested in that doesn't show up in the results, then do obviously check with that directly or at a different comparison site. But this is great because you get all the 0% cards listed together and you'll get your chance of acceptance on all those cards. And the best one is going to be the one that gives you, if it exists, a few might not exist, but the one that's 100% guaranteed, you're pre-approved. After that is 9 out of 10, then 8 out of 10, and so on. Now, there could be 1 out of 10 chance of getting accepted, but there's other things about it and you want to give it a go. Or maybe they're all 1 out of 10. Doesn't mean you won't get it. There's still a chance. But really, you're looking there for the stuff which is the most likely to be accepted for, as well as balancing it with, I say, how long you need it at 0% for. And just remember, I know I said you've got to pay it all off by the end to avoid interest, so budget for that if you can, but that doesn't mean you can not pay anything until the end. You do have to pay at least the minimum every single month. This is true if you're stoozing as well. Stoozing, I'm sure many of you know, I've covered that in detail before, is where you use a 0% card for your purchases, and then rather than pay off the card every month to avoid interest, you don't have to, it's 0%, you put that into savings instead of earn interest, but you still have to be paying the minimum on the card every single month to avoid fees and to keep that 0% offer going. Kyra says, what would you say are the best credit cards for TFL and cashback? Going back to the ones we said before, actually, I can't think of any which give an additional perk or additional rate for TFL. So I would just stick with, the Chase 1% if you're paying monthly. Obviously, that has a cap every month of £1,500 worth of spending, £15 cashback. So if you're buying an annual, I don't know, I can't remember, I moved out of London 6 years ago. I can't remember what an annual season ticket is now. But if that's more, you're trying to want to buy it annually, then obviously that might want to go somewhere else if that was more than £1,500 and your other spending as well. In that case, you might want to look at one of the other credit cards that offers you that without a cap. But most of them will pay on travel and transport, no problem at all. They're not going to exclude that. Richard says, is there any point having a Barclays account anymore? And this is following on from the announced changes to Blue Rewards. I won't repeat all those details here because I have covered them a number of times in separate videos, both about the Blue Reward changes and that bank switch offer from Barclays that launched last week. At the moment, you're still getting your £5 back and you can get the Apple TV and you've got that 5.12% paying saver. That will obviously change from September. And from September onwards, certainly don't think there's a point to having Blue Rewards unless they announce any additional offers that come along. But in terms of keeping the Barclays account, you never know, things come along. And if you're don't have, because you've got one, you don't have to use it. You have it sitting there dormant. It's not going to be an issue on your credit report or anything else like that. Of course, if you don't want to have lots of accounts just laying open, you're not me, you don't necessarily need to have all those laying around, then it definitely would be a contender for switching away with at the moment, that's for sure. G. Sweeney says, why do you think the government added an age limit of 50 for adding money to lifetime ISAs when you can't access it till you're 60? I don't know. It's a really good question. I don't know what the logic is there. Perhaps it's something to do with, I don't know. I really don't know. Anyone got any ideas? Just whack it in the comments. It's a weird one though, isn't it? And also, stopping at 40, when we know some people, don't start saving for a home even, absolutely. The first home could well be over 40 as well. Certainly if you are aged under 40, then I think, is it 40 and under or 39 and under? I can't remember off the top of my head now, gone blank. But if you haven't got one, and you don't already have a home, it's certainly worth opening up a lifetime ISA, a cash lifetime ISA, and putting £1 in it. It's there then. It means you can keep paying into it if you needed to up until the age of 50. But if you don't bother, and then once you hit 40, you won't be able to open a new one. So that's something to consider. Zubina says, hi Andy, my mum says she fancies you. Thank you for that. It's very, very kind of you. Malaka says, I put £50 into premium bonds 2 months ago to test the system. I won £200 on my first draw. Wow. You say all downhill from now. Very likely, but that's amazing to get a sizable win on no money at all, effectively. That's brilliant. That could be it for good. But that just shows you never know, do you, what's going on. Not a Clue Barbecue says, how do you actually set up a direct debit to yourself? I thought only businesses could set them up. Would love to know, thank you. Yeah, so when I say that, it's a shorthand for an account that you have that you can set a direct debit up for. And often some of these are savings accounts and things like that. Again, check out the article or the video, which is about fast and easy direct debits, and they're listed in there. So it's a bit of a hack. It's not really to yourself, but you're opening up an account that allows direct debits. Therefore, it is to you, even though it's to a business. But it means you can access that money and take it out. You're not paying somebody else for that. Southern Monkey says, any thoughts on where to put significant inheritance? Really hard question there, because obviously it really depends on your situation. But the things you have to remember, I mentioned it earlier on, how much do you actually need in cash? A lot of the time, we don't need huge amounts in cash. So that however amount you want to have in cash, look at the highest paying savings accounts. Be clever with your cash.com/savings. Potentially consider premium bonds there as well if you want to have a larger amount in there. But then it's about thinking about, well, if I don't need, I've got emergency fund covered, obviously cleared your debts, whatever it might be. There's nothing big I'm saving for. The rest of that money, maybe it's better doing one or a mix of things like overpaying your mortgage, putting more into your pension, or investing. Now, obviously, I don't cover investing in detail here on the channel. We just mentioned it here. I'll give you the broad blocks, but you know, over time, you would hope that investing performs better than savings. So putting some money there. And remember, your pension, that is investing as well. So a mix of those things is often a good way of splitting that up, particularly if it is a significant amount of money. Just don't forget, if there are tax implications on that, that's all dealt with before you start putting it into places where you can't get it back. You know, your mortgage, your pension, you won't be able to access that in most cases. You could get money out of your mortgage by remortgaging, but it's harder to do that. And investments, obviously, you've got to wait for the money to go up and down potentially. So you don't want to be having to take it out if it has dropped in value. Whereas in savings, you can access it, unless, of course, it's in a fixed rate, and then you have to be careful there as well. David says, hi Andy, can I ask you, how do I actually pay tax on my savings? I see all the time about savings being taxed, but who does this? Do I contact HMRC, or does the Building Society contact them? So actually back in, I want to say March, I did write an article on this and filmed a video on this telling you how to pay your savings, tax on interest on your savings. So check that out. That'll give you more information. But broadly speaking, the Building Society should contact HMRC and let them know what's due. Whether that actually happens is another matter altogether, but that's what should happen. And it depends how much interest you are earning and whether you already have a self-assessment form. But that all information in that article and that video. Cher says, hi Andy, you mentioned the Amex Platinum cashback credit card. I heard that Amex isn't widely accepted, so I just want to know whether that is true and if it actually matters. So it varies. So although I've been using, say, Hyperjar a lot this year and Chase a lot since that launch, but broadly speaking, there are times I'm using my Amex more than anything else, particularly if I want that additional Section 75 protection, which comes with credit cards, not with debit cards, for anything that costs more than £100. And most of the time, it's absolutely fine. But there are the odd restaurants here or there that won't accept it, the odd businesses. eBay is going to stop accepting it in August, in just a month's time. So, and I found, like, when I went to Bristol for a weekend once, like, loads of places didn't take it. But then, you know, where I live in North Yorkshire, it's fine. In London, most of the time, it's mainly fine. Ultimately, if you've got more than one card on you or on your phone, maybe, then it's fine because you've got something else to pay with. It's only really a problem if you only ever went out with a single card and that was your only way to pay for something and then you couldn't get accepted. But if you've got more than one card, your debit card, potentially a different credit card. I talked about that Barclays card reward one earlier. One's a good one for fee-free spending overseas and a bit of cash back. You wouldn't want to use your Amex overseas because it's not fee-free. So if you've got a few different cards, it shouldn't be an issue. Alan says, hi Andy, I transferred from my private pension to buy premium bonds. Do I pay tax on the amount I take out? Okay, so that's probably a bit complicated to do in the next couple of minutes. But if you have, as long as you've done that, you're at retirement age and you've withdrawn that money from the pension, you've not done a kind of it can be, sometimes people try to take you money out of your pension early, and that is not a good thing to do in pretty much every case. There might be an odd exception, but broadly don't do that. But assuming you're over pension age, then what will happen with the pension is, depending on how you've accessed it, is either 25% of the lump sum is tax-free, or 25% every time you take it out is tax-free. So there obviously is going to be tax potentially on the pension withdrawal itself. But once it's in premium bonds, once you put it in somewhere, premium bonds are tax-free. So any prizes you get, there's no issue there. But you definitely have to consider the tax implications when you take the money out of that drawdown from that pension. Guys, right, I've got 1 minute left. I'm really going to get a chance to all these. I'm so sorry. I will try and do another one this month. Try and get back to 2 a month if I can, but certainly one every month at the very least. If there is a question I haven't asked and you really urgently need the answer on it, the best place to do this is in our Facebook group. Join us there. becleverwithyourcash.com/community is our short URL. Take you there, apply to join. Flynn, who's our social media manager, tomorrow will go through all the applications and approve people. Then you can ask your question, and then myself and the team will try and answer it if we can. But if we can't, because there are so many, there are amazing people in that community, many of you watching right now, who will be able to point you in the right direction to maybe to content we've produced, or share their experiences, and they're kind of point you in the right direction in other ways as well. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to go for all of these. I appreciate it's been a while. That's probably why so many of you have got so many more questions. Thank you so much, and I will see you guys soon.